everybody.
So just apologies, this is my first time I've ever done a panel at a convention, so yeah.
You've been sidekick though.
I yelled at you. That's different. Anyway, so in the summer of 2016, I was sitting at my computer browsing Tumblr, as was the style at the time, and I saw an announcement that my favourite manga of all time, Bleach, which I'd been following since I was 14, would be ending in 6 chapters, and I thought there's no fucking way they could wrap it up in 6 chapters. And they didn't. Then, 8 years later, in the summer of 2024, I was scrolling Twitter on my phone, as was the style at the time, and I saw an announcement that my less favourite manga, Jujutsu Kaisen, which I'd been following so I could more accurately argue with other people on the internet, would be ending in 6 chapters, and I thought, there's no fucking way they can wrap it up in a satisfying way, and I was right. 2024 was a big year for Weekly Shonen Jump, with 2 of its headlines, My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen, both ending within a few months of each other. And across social media, debates raged over which ending was better. Were they both good? Were they both bad? Is it even possible for Shonen Jump manga to have a good ending? And, well, then I thought of this panel. And I thought, is it due to the nature of just trying to wrap up a long-running story? Is there something specifically to do with Weekly Shonen Jump? And I realise the question isn't, why are the endings like that? It's just, why are they like that? So, first, some definitions. Got to sort out our terminology. So, weekly. So that's a week, which is an occurrence of 7 days, as defined officially by Emperor Constantine. Him.
Is that the statue in York?
It's the statue in York, yes. It was the first answer on Google Images. So in AD 321. Shonen, word meaning boy in Japanese, and jump, which is to propel yourself upwards on the legs. I'm not going to jump, I have these legs. So, together this forms Weekly Shonen Jump, which looks like this. I took this picture in Japan a couple of years ago.
Probably in Okinawa going by the sandals.
It was in Okinawa. But anyway, it's really big. It looks like the Yellow Pages. Luckily at this convention everyone's old enough to know what the Yellow Pages looks like. And yeah, I decided not to actually buy a copy because I don't read Japanese. And it looked really, really flimsy, like I thought that, if I held it for too long the paper would fall out. And this is a picture of the very first Weekly Shonen Jump cover in 1968. July the 11th, actually. So it was launched by Shueisha to compete with the already successful Weekly Shonen Magazine and Weekly Shonen Sunday. Should buy some.
Table to the rescue.
Still save us from work, and the paper technically. So we got the beginning. So for the first couple of years, you probably wouldn't recognise any of the titles. They were all in Japanese. And I know not everyone here reads Japanese. But we start getting things that we do start recognising in the 70s. So we've got Mazinger Z in 1972. We've got Barefoot Gen, which is extremely depressing, in 1974. And Kochukame, Tokyo Beat Cops in 1976, which is the longest running manga of all time. It's, it ran for 40 years, it finished in 2016, so that means that, Eiichiro Oda still has to keep writing for another decade until he's going to...
Oh, sure, make it a challenge.
Yeah. Anyway, so then we move on to the 80s, where you start recognising more things. We've got Captain Tsubasa, 1981, we've got Fist of the North Star in 1983, got Silver Fang, where we have dogs going and doing spin kicks against bears. Anyway, go to another one which came out in the 80s was a little adventure manga you might have heard of called Dragon Ball. This was generally at the start of what was considered Weekly Shonen Jump's golden age. So we've got Dragon Ball, of course. We've got Saint Seiya in 1986. We've got Slam Dunk in 1990. We've got Yu Yu Hakusho also in 1990. I've got these in the wrong order, whatever. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in 1987. There's also like a bunch of others. There's Rurouni Kenshin, but I didn't want to put that one on the screen for obvious reasons.
Fair play to you.
Yeah. Anyway, so the magazine's circulation peaked at this point with 6.5 million copies. Unfortunately, in 1995. Unfortunately, that was the same year that Dragon Ball concluded, and then you basically got a crash and a downward slide until now. And yeah, for a couple of years after Dragon Ball and Slam Dunk concluded, they were considered kind of a dark age when no one wanted to read it because there was nothing to read. I mean, there was stuff to read, but no one cared. But then, the year 2000, well, it got close to the year 2000, and we got the Big Three, which is, aside, I really hate whenever people try and say, oh, what's the new Big Three? No, the Big Three, specifically these ones of that time and that era, you can't say what's the new Big Three because now there's more than 3 manga. There used to be more, there used to be only 3 in the West, but now there are more, so it can't be a Big Three anymore. Anyway, so we had One Piece in 1997, we got Naruto in 1999, and I didn't actually realise it was that old, which was... there was a lot of stuff doing research for this panel. I was like,
Boruto's dad, man.
I was like, I can't believe it came out that way. And then, yeah, and then you got Bleach, my favourite manga, unfortunately, of all time, unfortunately. We've got the t-shirt, ta-da.
Is that a Yu-Gi-Oh card on the Bleach one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yu-Gi-Oh also came around
I
this
recognise
time.
that
I just couldn't fit it on the screen. But in 2013, Shueisha decided to move into the 21st century and launched a online version. So you didn't need to go and buy it in physical anymore, which is probably the other reason why the circulation continued to drop. Anyway, then you got into the 2010s, you got Haikyuu, you got My Hero Academia, we've got Jujutsu Kaisen, we've got Demon Slayer, which has sold more than anything ever by amount of volumes. Technically One Piece has sold more, but they have like 1 billion volumes, so that's cheating, while this one has like less than that. Anyway, and then now you've got a bunch of stuff which I haven't read, but apparently some of them are good, I assume, because people do read them.
Which is very good.
I keep meaning to read manga, but I just don't read it. I don't watch anime either. It's really hard these days. Anyway, so yeah, you've got Sakamoto Days, which is what if John Wick was got fat. You've got Itchy Witch, which looks cool. You've got Kagurabachi, which is that guy. He's got a sword.
It looks like he watched Bleach and went, I can just do this with dark hair.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what more than you do need from a shonen manga than a guy with a sword?
2 thoughts.
Anyway.
Yeah, 2 swords, yeah.
Like, whoa, steady.
So anyway, now I've finished summarising the Wikipedia page. We can get on to the actual process of making a manga. And so a quick PSA, well, we all know that Battle Shonen is not everything to do with Weekly Shonen Jump. In fact, there's loads of, there's gag manga, there's obviously loads of sports manga, there's romance, there's, you can turn up boys like romance and nice things, apparently. But I'm focusing on Battle Shonen because that's what I like. So we start with, so you want to get published. Basically, you need to submit a one-shot. There's a billion different avenues you can do it through. There's the Jump Rookie app, there's Manga Plus Creators, there's international programs. Because when I went to search how do you get published in Weekly Shonen Jump, I got a million Reddit threads of people saying, well, I can't draw, I can't write, and I don't know Japanese, but how can I get published in Weekly Shonen Jump? They said, well, try do the first 3 things first, and then submit your manga to Viz, where you won't get published. So these pictures here are, so here is Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which wasn't actually called that originally. It was originally a 4-chapter one-shot, which sounds weird for a one-shot, but yeah, by, God, I forgot the man of his name, Gege Akitami, yes, he wrote Jujutsu Kaisen, and yeah, he eventually went and tied it into the actual real Jujutsu Kaisen story, and So that, and these ones are all one-shots by Kohei Horikoshi, who wrote My Academia. So you've got Tenko here, which is in 2008. You've got, what was it? Shinka Rhapsody here, which was in 2009. And you've got this one called Hero, which was also in 2008. And if you've ever watched My Academia, you can notice that guy looks a lot like an uglier version of Deku. And yeah, that's because all these one-shots were basically him trying to come up with the idea of My Academia, but before he could actually get published. But he did eventually, which was good for him. But so, let's say you get your one-shot published and the editors like it and they give you a slot in the magazine. Well, obviously this means you're now going to be able to publish hundreds of chapters, make loads of money, get anime tie-in deals, and retire happy. Probably not. So, this is a chart. It shows the number of titles and the amount of chapters in Shonen Jump from, this is from the year 2000 to now, because I wasn't going to go all the way back to the 1960s. And yes, the amount of titles and the amount of chapters they get to. So, you can see basically, a full half of stuff published in Weekly Shonen Jump doesn't get past 25 chapters. Only, what was it? Yeah, it's tough out there. And then, there's plenty of mangas which tell perfectly fine stories in those 25 chapters, but a lot of them where they really would like to go further, but they just never made it. Like Horikoshi had 2 manga he published before My Academia, which got to 36 chapters and 15 chapters before getting canned, which explains some of his story choices later. Now, next page. The fact is though, so this is the longest manga, so there's only 25 titles here which have breached 300 chapters, and only 70 have ever got more than 200 chapters in Weekly Shonen Jump's a lot of years history. And as you can see, most of these are either sports manga or battle shonen manga. And yes, since the idea of this panel came from my long years suffering reading overly long battle shonen, let's see how Kishimoto suffered writing Naruto. So, this is Kishimoto's schedule. He doesn't sleep. Well, he does, but not very much. So, as you can see, for the first half of the week, he is getting 3 hours of sleep. He is like getting 1 hour of lunch. I think that's a half. No, that's an hour of dinner.
In the bath.
At midnight.
At midnight, so he's not eating well either. And otherwise, he is working. And by working, I mean he is going like this all day, just writing. So it's probably not very good for his back. And yeah, seems like later in the week, he's got a slightly better schedule, but not really.
I mean, that's 4 6 hours.
He has a full 6 hours of sleep half of the time. And on the 7th day he gets to rest, I assume. Or maybe he
No,
doesn't.
this is right.
The fact that one is
24 hours
just
work.
sleep coma. Hospitalization.
Yep. So as we can see, Kishimoto is not getting very much sleep, exercise or free time, churning out Naruto's adventures, and that's because a weekly schedule of 15 to 20 pages is insane.
There was so much filler.
Well, that's what he was drawing when he was trying to think of what's going to happen next week. He got to publish. There are some manga which have separate writers and artists, and in my notes I have example written, so I obviously forgot to get to that bit.
Death Note.
Death Notes, there, thank you. But most of the time, the writing and the art is done by the same guy, and his editors. Not editors, assistants. The editor just criticises him. So, anyway, let's do the process. So, you start with a storyboard. which is a rough idea, where the images and dialogue will go with each panel and speech bubble. Then it gets submitted to the editors. And the editors tell them, no, you can't do that. Well, this probably isn't true most of the time. While people like to blame the editors for everything that's wrong with their favourite manga, they're only responsible for like half of it. And generally, if your manga is doing really, really well, it has the opposite problem where the editors aren't telling the writers to knock it off, and that's why One Piece is won like 1 billion chapters now. But anyway, once this has been approved, they can start their first draft and then start inking and drawing and making the actual chapter. And this is when the assistants come in. While the mangaka draws the main characters and set pieces, assistants will handle the background because that tends to be very time consuming. Of course, some mangaka have come up with the genius idea of not doing backgrounds or in fact drawing at all. For people who never read Bleach, this is an entire page. And actually in context it's kind of emotionally affecting, but it's also really... It's a page.
Background effects on it.
It's a page with... It has literally a page. There's a page with words on it. It's... In context it actually makes sense, but it's also very funny because
I'm
it's
used
a
to it
page.
with sparkles in the background as well.
Well,
as the 2 words.
unfortunately, Tai Kubo realised that if he just wrote his manga so it all takes place in blank white rooms, he never needed to colour anything in ever again, and he didn't.
I appreciate that they still put in the punctuation.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, to be fair, the punctuation would have been the typesetters. So in fact, it would be originally in Japanese, which doesn't have punctuation, lazy bastards.
If it works and it's still popular,
I mean, whether or not Bleach ended up being popular is... I mean, it was, but it's also... I looked at the rankings for the last arc and it was kind of like, shh.
oh, okay.
You'll be seeing some more ranking charts later, they're hilarious. Anyway, once the actual drawing has been done, you get colouring in, and it's boring as hell, and also the reason why Super Saiyan has blonde hair, because Toriyama felt bad making his assistants colouring Goku's hair all the time, so he said, you know what, we're not doing it, no more colouring in. Anyway, now we know how to draw manga.
Yes.
So did everyone.
I'm professional now.
So now we know how to draw manga, we'll have a look at Kishimoto's schedule by the day. So on Monday, he does his rough draft, based on storyboards he did the previous week. Tuesday, he finishes the draft and starts inking. Wednesday, he has to submit it. Now, the thing about the submissions is you've got to do it. There's no, you can't just say, oh, can I do it next week? I mean, maybe if you're, you know, Eiichiro Oda, who got told, actually, no, you do have to take a break, because if you die, we're going to lose loads and loads of money. But basically, there's many examples of mangaka going and submitting effectively unfinished chapters, because they got to submit something. So this picture here is from Kagurabachi, like last year or something, where this was an actual page that got actually published in Weekly Shonen Jump. As you can say, he was very not finished. But yes. But this is because in the very early periods, you are terrified of getting cancelled. Absolutely terrified. So you've got to publish, you've got to draw it. And the editors are not, they don't give breaks. Like Toriyama had an anecdote about having to, you know, begging his editors for a break, and they said, well, if you can sign your name, you can draw a chapter. Now get drawing. Anyway, and this is because what decides whether a manga continues is the rankings. There we go, rankings. Every week, the readers of Weekly Shonen Jump vote on what title was their favourite. They effectively decide whether you survive or not. Well, it's not scientific, but basically you want to be in the top and you don't want to be in the bottom. So,
What's this scored out of?
how many titles are in the things? It's usually about 20-ish.
What percentage of people are actually going to bother to do the ranking? Or is
The
it a case of
nerds.
it's your fave, so you've got to?
It's the nerds, so
Okay.
you know, it's the fans, and
So us.
you've got to keep the fans happy.
So not the kids that read it, but the older people.
I mean, the kids might vote. I don't know, but yeah, it's got. Yeah, so basically it is self-selected for the kind of nerds who go and vote on the rankings every week. Anyway, so an example, going back to Horikoshi, who, and his 2 manga he did before Weekly Shonen Jump, which lasted 38 and 16 chapters. Now as you can see, the ranking starts high, and then it gets worse, and then it got cancelled. And this one, the ranking started high, go down, went up a bit, went down, then went down, down, and yeah, it got cancelled again. Which explains why he had such a complex about getting cancelled. Which, as a person who's read all of My Hero Academia and enjoyed it a lot, you can definitely tell bits where it's like, okay, got to change the plot a bit because people are getting bored, people aren't liking it. So an example of where he did change change the plot. How many of you guys have read My Hero Academia? Okay, some people, yay. A bit worried there. But anyway, so there's a bit about 80 chapters in where the kids go on a training exercise in the forest, and at this point the rankings started going because people found the training arc boring and uninteresting. So Horikoshi said, okay, the villains are going to now crush the training arc, they're going to kidnap Bakugo, I'm going to introduce the main villain of the plot super early and have him fight All Might. Which was something that was supposed to happen at the end of the manga in his original plan, but was now happening now. And it meant we got this, and it was really... Is it going to play? It's going to go to YouTube, wonderful. Give me a second. Is it chicken? Is it? Okay, give me a second. Oh, it's because you're not connected to the internet. That explains it. Probably should... Just a minute.
I think it must be on YouTube.
Well, we have technical issues, but it's very cool, I promise you. Oh, that means my joke at the end's not going to work.
It'll work for the people who read it.
Yeah, well, whatever. Anyway, let's skip that bit. Oh well. So anyway, you've become a successful mangaka. It's great. So now you can write the story you want. Well, actually, no, you can't write the story you want. You can never do what you want in life. You've still got the ratings hanging over your head at all times. And you've still got the editors going and telling you what to do and making suggestions about how to improve your story. So some of these ideas are good. For example, in Dragon Ball, originally Toriyama had these guys as the villains for the Android Saga, and the editor said they are ugly and stupid, please change them. So then he went in and said, okay, I'm going to have these guys as the villains for the Android Saga. And they said, no, they're too pretty and non-threatening, do something else. So then he's like, okay, I'll have this guy who looks like this. They're like, no, ugly. Okay, this guy who looks like this. Nope, still ugly. So, okay, fine, I'll make him look like Frieza again. And they said, okay, awesome. We love this. You know, Frieza with the green hat, everyone loves that. Sorry, just a second.
Is that alcohol?
It's water, come on.
That's what they all say. I will be having alcohol in my hand.
Yeah, well, your one's like 11 o'clock, everyone's going to be pissed. But anyway, another example is in Bleach, where Kubo introduced the Shinigami in the Soul Society arc, and everyone loved them. So the editors were like, write more about the Shinigami, everyone loves them. And then in the next arc, he introduced the Anka, and again, everyone loved them. So like, write more about them, because everybody loves them. So he just kept making more characters, and more and more, and more and more, until the Anka arc, which was supposed to be a much shorter part of the manga, ended up a third of the entire story. And then when he went try to say, okay, we are going back. We're going out, back from the land of blank backgrounds to Earth, where we're going to go back to our cool urban fantasy setting we started with. And everyone hated that and said we wanted the Shinigami back. So that's why the Lost Agent arc is like the way it is. Which is unfortunate, because I really liked it, because it was nice and grounded. But that's not what people wanted. People wanted more of these guys. So we got more of these guys. And that's why the final arc sucked. Anyway. So, since we're talking about characters, we're going to talk about characters. Or at least how... There's loads of them. There's loads and loads of them. I tried to get more pictures in, but they wouldn't fit. So... Kubo, who wrote Bleach, once said whenever he felt writer's block, he'd introduce a new set of characters, and there's many benefits to more characters. Because, you can have new plot lines, you can have new enemies, especially in a battle shonen where our hero always needs new people to fight. You just need to have more people and more, and yeah. The downside is you end up with a huge, bloated cast. Like way too many people, and you do end up with characters falling out of relevance, especially when it comes to the stakes getting higher and higher and higher.
Is that Yamcha?
That is Yamcha. Yes, poor Yamcha. He was
kind of useless.
He wasn't useless.
It wasn't Krillin.
Actually, no. Krillin wins more fights than Yamcha. Yamcha won like one fight.
He's never showing up in anything again because I'd have to recast him.
Oh, was he also was he a pedo or did he cheat on his wife? Oh, cheat on his wife, got it. Anyway.
I made his missus have an abortion.
Who's this?
Wow. Also the Yamcha.
We really need to do a panel on terrible voice actors because I've got a list.
I mean,
they're almost all men.
I mean, that would be easy though. You just be like cheated on their wife, cheated on their
It's
wife.
always cheated on their wife with a mistress who didn't know she was a mistress.
Yeah. Anyway, so now we're going to talk about power scaling. Not yay. Power scaling.
Oh, the 9,000.
Yeah, that's a power scaling. Thank you. We can go on now. Anyway, anyone who's followed a running battle shonen knows what I'm talking about. You start the series with pretty grounded fighting, maybe in a high school, perhaps in a ninja village where people mostly follow the laws of gravity, and then before you know it, you're fighting aliens on the moon. Because basically, as you extend your story, it's got to get flashier and flashier. And as the mangaka gets more confident in writing fights and fleshes out their battle system, you end up with a universe where the main character's power is punch good or shoot laser, and your newly introduced characters can control reality or turn people into snails. So that's for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So here we have Star Platinum, who is the stand in superpower thingy for our main character in part 3. He can punch good. He punches real good. He also has time travel powers, but or time stop powers. Whatever. Anyway, that is the stand of one of the characters in part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, whose power is to create rainbows that make people hallucinate that they are snails and therefore they turn into snails.
That are also birds.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
That was a bird.
It's
It's a bird mid-process.
But it's bizarre.
Yeah,
It's bizarre, yes, I will give it that.
Yeah, and that little picture there is from Bleach, where Ichigo starts the power of sword, then he gets the power of can shoot laser from sword, and he never gets past that. The lasers just get bigger, and characters have pages and pages explaining their awesome, unique powers, and then he just hits them with his sword.
It's not like Akira Amano, who basically rewrote the world laws every arc for Hitman Reborn.
Yeah, I'm not read Hitman Reborn, but that sounds like it checks out. Anyway, another issue is when you have a story which you obviously thought is going to run for maybe 5 years or something, and then it obviously starts running longer and you've got an ending in mind, but it means you just need to extend the middle. And this means, because you knew it was going to be 5 years to begin with, you introduced characters at the start who are going to be relevant to the end, but they're basically stuck in a holding pattern for just a little bit of time. Let me find. Oh, there's the slide. The slides got mixed up. These guys from One Piece. So we've got Shanks, the hero's inspiration, who appears in chapter 1, and he recently got partial backstory reveal in chapter 1158. There was literally a 400 chapter section where he doesn't appear at all because he's got his job is to stand going, like he knows everything. And then we've got this guy who is the hero's, well, do people want a spoiler that's 30 years old? It's the hero's dad. Now, he's introduced in chapter 99. It's revealed that he's the hero's dad in chapter 500 and something. No, 300 and something. Yeah, they all blur together in the middle. Anyway, he very recently got partially backstory, part of his backstory revealed. We still don't know who Luffy's mother is. And all he's done is stare into the distance going, It's actually quite funny because I've been watching the One Piece live action with my friend. And at the start of the manga, start of the anime, manga, live action, whatever, you get the fight between Zoro and Mihawk, and she's like, oh, I can't wait to see when they have a rematch. I'm like,
the live action one might get to it quicker.
Perhaps.
I think they're waiting for the music.
That is fair, that is fair.
Yeah. Anyway, so, in the end, all good, all mediocre things must come to an end. For the front runners, in general, if you've got your manga past your 100, 200 chapters, you're not getting cancelled, you're not, suddenly being told, okay, you're canned unless you did something really awful, but even then. Usually you do get examples of them being, pushed to write more. For example, Toriyama was supposedly intended to end Dragon Ball with the Namek Saga, then the Android Saga, then the Boo Saga, and then he's like, fuck, I'm not doing this anymore, here's some character designs, go make Dragon Ball GT, I'm never touching this again. Then he saw... yes! and said, you know what, I want Dragon Ball back. So then Dragon Ball Super happened, although I don't think Toriyama actually draws it, I think another guy draws it.
He refused to go to his grave with this being the last Dragon Ball release.
It was dire.
He's involved, but I don't think he's the artist or the main writer.
But hey, if it got in writing, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
The Taiwanese knockoff kid show pantomime version was better than that one.
I'm guessing with those.
And it is absolutely
Or have you noticed it's absolute cinema?
Yes, basically.
Absolute cinema.
His live action. Back then they were afraid to put a blue head wig on a lady.
so rough.
But now the world has changed, they can just do that now. Anyway. Do you guys like charts? Because I've got another chart.
Yes!
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the chart.
Oh wow.
So this is all the manga in Weekly Shonen Jump since its inception, which got to over 200 chapters. To be honest, I think I probably should have taken Kochikami and One Piece out because they're kind of skewing the axis a bit.
That's what log axes are for.
Yeah, well, I did this. I thought this chart last night, so I didn't have. I'm not going to do charts at like 10 p.m. Anyway, but you can kind of see that there's been, especially in the last decade, a decrease in the really long runners. This is probably because I have my own theories about why. I do speculate that during the 2000s, where you had like Bleach and Naruto and stuff, that the authors were encouraged to not quit because they didn't want the sales of the magazine to crash again.
The anime needed content.
The anime did need content. It's not a problem nowadays, actually, since they decided we'll just do seasonals. But anyway, but yeah, I think that basically modern mangakas in the 2010s and 2020s looked at these guys who basically dedicated their life to manga
And
and
died
thought,
at 50.
and died at 50, and thought, no, I don't want to do that. Because these manga do kind of destroy your life. So Kishimoto infamously did not go on a honeymoon with his wife until Naruto ended, and he got married in 2003. Kubo ended up ending Bleach very abruptly, as his doctor told him he would die if he kept working the way he did. This included stuff like he apparently whipped the muscles in his back from basically being just, bent over the table too long. Anyway, the final arc of My Academia was plagued by sudden break weeks and short chapters. Like, I remember reading it, and it's like every week, you'd be like, oh, sorry, you've got an emergency unannounced break, or, oh, this one's going to be 8 pages long. And I was just thinking, just put him on a monthly schedule. I don't want him to fucking die. But, it got finished in the end, and now he's a lot happier because he's not writing the manga anymore.
Yeah.
Same reason that we stopped doing weekly British comics as well. Like, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Even the
Anyway, these conditions will stay with mangaka for the rest of their lives. The creator of Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter, now colloquially known as Hiatus x Hiatus, has basically said he's, unable to get out of bed, unable to sit at a desk for more than an hour, to the point that he went and got a new desk, which meant he could lie down while drawing. And yes, the schedule is whenever he finishes a chapter, which is sometimes. It's also mostly text. Although I think that's less because of the difficulty of drawing, and more he does really, really, really long explanations of abilities. Anyway, even outside of the physical stress, trying to tie a story together that, you've been doing for years, which has, dozens, hundreds of characters, all these different plot lines, it's hard. It's really hard.
I swear he's written it and he's going to wait until he dies.
No, he hasn't.
Oh, see, it'd be funny if he published it posthumously and was like...
He clearly doesn't know.
He doesn't care anymore, but,
Fair enough. I mean, it couldn't be worse than the series.
I mean, yes, I think that certainly didn't help. Anyway. And also, if you're writing an action manga, you need action, which means everyone's got to have a fight scene. You've got to have everyone having a cool moment. And if you've got like 10 billion characters, that's really difficult. So like, we have, you could do, big group fight against a bunch of faceless enemies. These guys are the green Zetsus from Naruto. I never actually got to this point in the manga, I'd given up at that point. But basically, the villains go and summon a big old army of clone these guys, and every male character who's not Naruto, Sasuke, or Kakashi, and some other cool guys, gets to fight these ones. It's really boring.
It's an awful character design as well.
Well, it's pretty easy to draw though, because you don't need to colour them in.
It does help the way he shapes it.
Or you can do like Tai Kubo in the final arc of Bleach, where you have all these fights. Now, I originally was going to have photos or pictures of all the characters and all their fights, and then I looked at this list and thought, fuck that. So instead we got this list copied from the Bleach wiki, and here you can see that A, we got a whole load of different fights, and B, Kubo was not capable of writing a fight in 2 chapters, which he meant he could do it in 7.
Is there a reason why Uryo versus Renji doesn't even get included in the manga?
Oh, that's because that was an anime-only one.
Okay.
And it was very cool. Yeah, basically, if you want to experience Bleach, watch the anime up to episode 64, then read the manga up to chapter 408, 79, then watch the 1,000 Year Blood War anime.
Okay.
This will only take half your life.
That's cool. That's about as much as I've got left. So.
Yeah. Anyway, inevitably, the final arc always takes up a large proportion of the manga. So here we've got My Hero Academia, where it was about a quarter, Bleach, where it was about a third. Again, basically between a third and a quarter of the manga will be the final arc. And the thing is, even if you're a very good writer, even if you carefully write so everyone gets their day in the spotlight, inevitably you're going to disappoint people. And that's because one of the attractive points of such stories, the ones that say sell loads and loads of merch and have loads and loads of fan fiction written over them, and people making Twitter accounts solely to praise singular characters, it's because there's so many characters. But as the story grows, the possibilities grow more. But as the story ends, the possibilities shrink. And people will get mad that it turns out that their secondary character, favourite secondary character, was in fact a secondary character. And let's say you're hoping certain characters turn good and they die. You're not going to be happy. You know, you're not going to like it. And, well, a lot of manga don't end up being able to give everyone that spotlight, and it turns out it's because they don't know how to count. So these are quotes from Koyo Koshi, writer of My Hero Academia, in December 2021. If things go smoothly, the manga will meet its goal to end in 1 year. October 2022, it's been about 10 months and they said there was a year to go. Sorry. And then in December 2023, if the series continues until next year's Jump Festival, we will hold it to Gazeza Festival. That's basically head bow for, you know.
Full cow.
Yeah, full. Yeah. It was quite funny actually when I was following the final arc of the manga, because I said, oh, he kept changing his mind. Like, he didn't change his mind, he thought it would take a year, it just didn't.
It's a writer, not a counter.
The last 20% is 80% of the effort.
This feels like the last series of Attack on Titan, which was like 33 episodes, a million.
I mean, that was less to do with the actual author and more to do with how the behind-the-scenes production of the anime was a giant fucking mess.
It came across that way.
That's because it was. I can tell you about it later, it's very funny.
Okay.
Anyway, working out how much page time it will take to wrap everything up is difficult, and as they get to the end, they're going to get burnt out. They're going to think, oh, let's just fine, everyone dies at the end, or whatever apparently is happening with Chainsaw Man right now. I don't read Chainsaw Man, but I know people are not happy.
Okay.
Anyway, so then you get the 6 chapter warning. Which basically 6 chapters before the author intends to end their manga, they've got to tell the higher ups this, they've got to officially announce it. This is so they can go and put something new in the slot, they can, you know, do the special covers, they can, you know, all the marketing machine around Weekly Shonen Jump can do its thing. And since we've established that manga can't count, this often means the plot gets squished into those last few pages and then a where are they now epilogue of everyone getting married to random people picked out of a hat. And I remember when My Hero Academia was ending and we got the announcement saying the author said there'll be a long epilogue after the final battle, which turned out to be 6 chapters, and people were like, that's not a long epilogue. And I just sighed and said, no, this you should be thankful for this. It's 6 whole chapters. You don't just, you know, end up with the bad guy getting defeated and then, okay, and then they live happily ever after, bye. Anyway, now, ending slide. I suppose the conclusion to all this is that the problems of Weekly Shonen Jump are nothing new and not massively unique to the magazine. They're just the problems of storytelling and story writing. You can see them in video games, in TV series, in movies. It's just the working environment with its brutal timelines and immense public pressure, and genre conventions exacerbates it and makes it not good. How can you tell a consistent story when you don't know if you have to end it tomorrow or in 10 years? How can you please an audience with such a variety of opinions? How can you write something unique while also not breaking with the genre conventions? All in all, I don't think any of the Weekly Shonen Jump manga I've spent years reading have had truly terrible endings. Some of them I'd even say are pretty good. There's just, you know, they could have been better, you know, or they could have been worse, you know, they really, really could have been worse. Anyway, the conclusion of this is mathematically impossible for One Piece to have a good ending. Yeah, but I'm still going to read it. I'm still going to read it. I've been reading it for 20 years. I've got to
If I
keep
was
going
honest
now.
and say, by the end of the very last chapter, I would just put end of part 1.
Oh, I would love him for that, obviously.
And anyway, here is bonus slide, which isn't going to work because we're not connected to the internet, but since another complaint that people always have with shonen is, can it have a good romantic ending? The answer is, no, it can't. It can't. It's not possible. You just can't have a good shonen romance. It's just not possible.
What about Naruto Sasuke?
Unfortunately, he was not brave enough to make it happen. We just got to imagine it in our head and go on AOV. Anyway, thank you all for coming.